I recommend that you use the Schema Advisor to analyze your source database before you migrate into the autonomous database. You input exactly which autonomous database that you are targeting, and then the advisor will generate a report for you, which holds information like, for instance, that some of the tables will be compressed in the autonomous database. Now we are making a much better version of this tool, and it's called the Cloud Pre-Migration Advisor tool. We are just making the final touches to it, and it should become generally available very soon. So keep an eye out for this tool. It can really make your migration to the cloud much easier. When you need to transfer data into the cloud, you should really use multi-part uploads, and you should at least do it for files that are larger than 100 megabytes. You can use the OCI CLI tool to transfer the files. You specify the chunk size. In my example, I've decided to split the file into chunks of 1024 megabytes, and I'll do 4 concurrent uploads at the same time. In addition to that, if you have many files to upload, you should use bulk uploads. This also does multi-part uploads under the hood, but instead of specifying one single file, you specify a source directory, and all the files in that directory is transferred to the cloud. It does 10 concurrent uploads by default, but it's configurable. Also, the chunk size is configurable. And there's also the option of specifying a prefix. So all the files, when they are transferred to the object store, will be prefixed with a text that you can specify. What I also would recommend you is to check some of your files when they are uploaded to OCI. Often, when the file has to transfer from your location to the cloud, something can go wrong in flight. We do see from time to time that, for instance, data pump dump files get corruption in flight. But you can most likely verify that using MD5 checksums. In Linux, you can use the MD5 sum command to generate a checksum on of the files, and you can compare that checksum to the checksum that you can get from the DBMS cloud package, which calculates the checksum on the files when they are in the object store. If the checksum is the same, there is much less chance of corruption in the actual files. When you start your import into the autonomous database, you can scale up on resources to make it faster. You can add more CPUs online. And what's really nice about adding CPUs is that the I/O scales together with the CPUs. So the more CPUs you get, the faster subsystem you get, the more I/O you get access to. In addition to that, you should always connect to the high service when you're making migrations, because this will ensure that the database resource manager allocates adequate resources to your database sessions. And then typically, it's faster to load data from the object store compared to loading data over a network link. Also, I would recommend that you set the size of your data files so they are big enough to hold your data without needing to auto-extend. The tablespaces in the autonomous databases are big file tablespaces, which means that with an 8K block size, they can hold up to 32 terabytes. If you do a data pump import and the data files aren't big enough, they'll auto-extend, but it'll take time and it'll prolong your migration, and there's a small risk of concurrency. So I advise you to set the size of the data files so they are big enough from the beginning. And then you might wonder, but what if my autonomous database must have 40 terabytes of data? Well, don't worry, then the tooling will automatically create 2 big file tablespaces for you, and they'll be called data and data 2.